Hello, everyone. Welcome to New Jersey Wedding Podcast, your go-to source for wedding planning in New Jersey, hence the name. But you can do that from wherever you are. We have visitors from all over the country and all over the world, too. We've been doing interviews with some of our favorite venues lately, and many of them are elegantly rustic, pleasantly divine stables, and the Tamerlane Animal Sanctuary come to mind. Many of you are planning your wedding at beautiful outdoor sites. Some of you are planning theme weddings. Braveheart and Harry Potter come to mind, too. You're searching for that perfect finishing touch. Well, we have you covered this morning. We're going to talk to Brittany and Tom from Falconry Excursions, and after you hear them talk about the wonderful work they do with their stunning birds, you may want to consider adding a surprising and dramatic twist to your wedding ceremony. So we're going to talk to them right now. You're engaged. That is so great. It's such an exciting time. And probably a little bit overwhelming, too. We'll try to cut through some of that overwhelmed feeling and help you get back to the joy you both felt when one of you asked that singular question and the other person said yes. You want a unique and amazing ceremony, we know that, and we're here to put that together for you. The process is really simple. How refreshing is that? You've created your love story. We're going to write it, and yes, you will see a script before that day. We tell this great story to your guests. They laugh, they cry, and then they party. Easy, right? And I bet it sounds great. A wonderful personal ceremony that feels just like you and lets your guests feel the warmth and joy of the day. We can create that together. Okay, I cannot promise it'll be as much fun as tasting cakes, but we'll try to come close. So let's talk about how to put your wedding together so at the end everybody's had a great time and you're married. So just reach out to us at NJ Vows Now. We're going to make this all easy and fun. I promise.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Today, we have some guests that I have been so excited to have on the podcast. They are Brittany and Tom, owners of Falconry, Excursions. And I had the pleasure of meeting them. I was in total awe at a wedding that I officiated at Woods Edge Farm. And the couple had a falcon bring the rings in, or a hawk, I think, bring the rings in. And it was magnificent. It was so beautiful.
Wow.
It was such a great photo op. And I was like, I just have to get these folks on the podcast to hear all about what they offer. So Brittany and Tom, thank you so much for joining us today. Tell us about what you offer, how you got started, and all about your birds.
Yeah, hi. So I was fortunate enough in which I was born into a family of falconers.
Wow.
Both my parents were doing it before I was born. My dad actually saw a Disney film when he was 10 years old called Rusty and the Falcon. And one Saturday morning in the early 60s, and he caught the bug from that and pretty much dedicated his entire life towards it. So by the time I showed up working with birds of prey and actually breeding birds of prey was a family hobby. And about 10 years ago was when I took it over full time from my parents. And we've been offering all sorts of different services with our birds. We, as you talked about, we do weddings. We fly wedding rings into wedding ceremonies.
Yeah.
We do education programs. We go to schools and camps and fairs. And display our birds and show off and educate people about them. We also do like our private like falconry experiences where people actually get to come to our property up here in New York State and get to actually put the gloves on their hands and hold the birds and get kind of a more hands-on experience of what it's like working with the birds and doing the sport of falconry. And we take people out to go see the birds fly out on the property that we have.
Where in New York are you located?
We're in Orange County, New York, which is just over the border of New Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, you know, I do all sorts of things with the birds. I mean, I've done, my birds have been in movies and TV shows.
Oh,
I saw that. Yeah. I think that's great.
We take the birds to, we do like pest control work. So in places where there's other types of birds that are causing issues, we will bring our predatory birds in to harass them out of the area, basically. So places like we had the first contract at JFK Airport, the first contract to ever do that in the country, and we did it for about 2 years there. Flew the birds at the end of the runways and kept all the seagulls and geese and stuff like that away from the planes.
wow.
We've done Bryant Park in New York City, keeping pigeons away from people enjoying their lunch, and various other things throughout like the tri-state area where we're located. And then the wedding thing, that's getting more and more traction as time has gone on. It's becoming a lot more popular.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
And over in Europe, they have falconry is a lot more popular over there. And most, boutique kind of resorts or hotels or even like castles and stuff will have like a falconer normally right on the property doing programs, all over the place across the UK and Europe. So most of the stuff that we do entertaining people with the birds is kind of copying stuff that they're already doing over in Europe. So the wedding thing has been more popular over there for a longer amount of time. It wasn't until probably about 8 years ago that I did my first wedding. And, we have the bird show up. We attach the rings to the bird's what we call the jesses. They're these little straps that come off the bird's legs that allow me to be able to control the bird if I need to, in case something bad starts happening or anything like that. Or it's time to, we're done flying at the end of the day and we can, it's time to go back home. I'll call the bird down to me and then grab those jesses and get control over the bird. Just no different than, a leash on a dog sort of thing.
Right.
So we attach the rings to there. The birds fly down the aisle and deliver the rings. And then they turn around, fly back down the aisle, and we kind of scurry out of there. And then for almost every wedding that we do, we will be there for the cocktail hour.
Yes.
And we'll bring the birds back out again and allow the guests to meet all the birds that we brought and to ask questions and to be able to put them on the gloves that we brought and to be able to take pictures with them and just really, make it a really cool interactive experience for the guests.
Oh,
that
sounds
was
like
exciting. I saw that when I left this wedding. First of all, it was magnificent, and I have some pictures. I'll include the pictures on the post of this, so couples listening to this podcast can see the pictures of that particular wedding as well as some other photos of the birds. But in the cocktail hour, in this one spot, you had some beautiful birds. I mean, hawks, different kinds of hawks, and a beautiful owl. And all the guests were gathered around looking at them. And I remember somebody saying, does anybody want to hold one? And I so badly wanted to, but of course, guests came first. They were like, oh, we do. And I thought, well, since I'm working this, it wouldn't be appropriate for me to cut in line and be like, I want to hold one, push people out of the way. I want to hold that beautiful owl, I could see it being so popular with, themed weddings because we get, as an officiant, we get all different kinds of weddings. We get Harry Potter weddings, we get Renaissance fair weddings, things like that. I could see this that all of those, and then even just beautiful outdoor nature-based ceremonies.
Yeah. That's mostly, I would say that's a majority of the people that are looking for that type of wedding. We fit very nicely into that sort of thing. But having said that, the reasons for why people want birds at their weddings vary so wildly that I wish I could say definitively that it's mostly this. But I've had people that, I actually had one wedding that we did where the bride wanted to walk the bird down the aisle with her because her father had passed away.
Uh-huh.
And so she didn't have somebody to walk down the aisle with her. So she wanted to walk down the aisle with the bird and then release the bird, as like a symbol for her father. So,
Oh.
Beautiful.
yeah, so there's, like I said, the reasons for why I don't even try and kind of question, because it's always a very personal thing for the most part. Yeah, I just try and provide what people are looking for, as long as it's, safe and effective for my birds.
Yeah, I would assume that it has to be a certain type of venue. I mean, it always has to be outdoors, or does it, right? Can you do it indoors?
We can do it indoors. There's more chance that things can go a little bit funny. Just because when the birds are very focused on what they're there to do, but the more distractions, and especially the more distractions in a more confined space,
Right.
will no different than a dog, will cause them their head to turn in 5 different directions, and you kind of lose their focus on exactly what they're there to do. So the more open a wedding is, the better. But like I said, as long as it's safe for the bird, I'll do it, no problem. And then for more indoor weddings, because we have them scheduled where it's going to be outdoors, and then the day of the wedding, weather does not work out for everybody, and we have to move things more indoors. So if we can't necessarily fly the rings down the aisle because of whatever the venue situation might be, we just try and work it out so that we provide as much as we can with the birds, based on what's available.
I mean,
I love the idea of the bird representing the bride's father. That's just such a sweet idea. And
Yeah.
I could see too, we do a lot of, a lot of theme weddings, but I feel like we've done a lot of venues, we've had a lot of venues as guests in your area that are like farms and stables and animal sanctuaries. And what a perfect way to incorporate that, that, because those weddings are, there's a theme in place. If you're at an animal sanctuary, you've got a theme going on, like it or not. Well, of course you like it because you booked it. But it's, I think that this fits in so beautifully. And I could see some readings that would be just perfect to go along with having. They're so pretty. I'm like totally distracted by the pictures. Pictures are gorgeous.
Right. The photo ops too, the photos of
Yeah.
the wedding, especially the ceremony. It was magnificent when I forget what type of hawk it was. It was a certain type of hawk at the wedding I was at, that brought the rings in. But the rings coming in were beautiful. But then when the hawk flew back, like it went straight
Oh,
down
wow.
the aisle, and looking at the people, the guests' face as they saw this, it was so great.
Wow, that's pretty cool. I kind of like that.
What type of birds do you usually bring? Like falcon, hawks?
Most usually, it is going to be one of our Harris hawks that's going to fly the rings down the aisle. I've had special requests for owls to do it, and I'll just say right up in front, it's going to cost more money for that, because the owls are just not as consistent. So I have to put a lot more time in getting the owl kind of focused and dedicated to what we're going to be looking for the owl to do. But the hawks do it very, very easily, as you saw at the wedding that we were at with you. They're very, very focused, very active. So as soon as they see that cue to go fly to that fist, they're right there. And then we normally, for the cocktail hour, that's when the owl, like I'll bring owls for the wedding, but that's normally where they'll come out, because the owls are like visually very striking and impressive.
Yes.
And they're naturally very, very, very calm. So they just do well in those sort of situations, and they do well for, they're amazing for the pictures and things like that. They look like, if the bride has an owl on her fist, it looks like it's just another piece of jewelry that she has on, and it really, like, it looks amazing on them.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing photos for the brides and grooms, but it's also for the guests too. What a great thing to get a picture of yourself. Look at this picture from this wedding. I mean, that was great. I imagine it's beyond weddings. I could see camps, kids, schools just loving this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we were very popular. That when COVID happened, a lot of the normally kind of scheduled camps and fairs that I would normally do throughout a summer, they all kind of went away for a little while.
Yeah.
And I had to go get busy doing other things. So unfortunately, I'm so busy now that some of the camps and fairs that I used to go to, I'm not capable of going to anymore, just because they're too far away. It's just too much time and stuff. But fortunately, we do have other falconers in the area that will do this sort of work as well, and I pass the work on to them if it's anything closer to their area or anything like that. What I'll say about the weddings too, and I didn't realize this until the first wedding I did. It wasn't something I considered, but when we finish flying the rings in and we go over to where the cocktail hour is, and we bring the birds out, we allow people to start holding them and taking pictures and asking questions. You have the bride's extended friends and family, and you have the groom's extended friends and family, and they don't know each other, and you're
This is true.
looking to break the ice. Well, if everybody gets to hold this one owl, later on in the evening when they're, grabbing a drink, it's a quick way to break the ice with the person standing next to you, talking about the birds that are at this wedding. So it's like a great,
That's true.
yeah. That was one of the things when people reached out to us after weddings, with feedback about it. That was the thing that, all their guests were coming up and saying, it was so awesome. And then, I was able to make friends because of it,
Cool.
So yeah, it's a great, kind of
find this commonality, talking about, because everybody's very exciting. I mean, whoever sees these birds, so up close.
Oh, that's so great.
It was great. Have you ever had a guest be scared when a hawk is flying the rings in? Have you ever had anybody that has a phobia of birds?
That's a good question. So when they're flying in, no, I've never had anybody scream or jump up and run down the aisle or faint or anything like that. That's never happened. What I will say is when they're out at cocktail hour, normally you've got the people that are oh my God, this is incredible, and they almost run right up to us when they see us bring the birds out. And then there's people that you can see are on the far side of the wedding party, looking over at us, keeping an eye on us all the time. And those are the people that are probably a little more fearful of birds. And same for myself. I have a fear of spiders.
Yeah.
Spiders are I'm fascinated by. I don't want to get too close to them, but I will absolutely go up and go check them out and see what they're all about. That's what most people with the fear of birds do. And once they see, most people with a fear of birds, it has to do with flapping their wings and flying around their heads and stuff like that. Once they see that these birds are both incredibly tame and incredibly well trained and focused on just what they're meant to do, then very quickly people are like, I'm not afraid of this bird. I might be afraid of other birds, but this one doesn't bother me at all.
That's cool. I think there's really a very sweet kind of bonus to all of this. There's sort of an ambassadorship kind of element to it that people may have never even thought about birds in this way, and you're introducing them to a world that they may get completely engrossed in. That's a great thing, especially little kids, but there's little kids at weddings too.
Exactly. I mean, anytime I'm doing education, I'm bringing birds some birds are native to our area. Some birds are more exotic, but we have birds very similar to the exotic ones that I have living in our backyards, So, and once you tell people this guy right here lives in those woods in your trees in your backyard, that changes. You can see it across their face. Oh my God, I should care more about what's in my backyard because this thing's amazing and I had no idea it was there.
Right. That's so funny. I just said, just this past week, there was a hawk. It looked like a hawk to me I have these, the woods around me, landed in a tree in my backyard, and he had something in his claws. I don't know. It was maybe a chipmunk or a little something in there. And he paused. I took a picture, sent it. I sent it to Celia. I said, look, a hawk. I'm more into it now. I think of you guys. I think of the hawks and stuff. I'm like, reminds me of a wedding I did. But, it's kind of like noticing him more. And I like that, the way Celia said, an ambassadorship, you learn more about them, and become a fan of them and see how
That's great.
beautiful they are and amazing they are.
Yeah, it's true. You know, nature needs all the fans we can get at this point, you know.
Absolutely.
All the
Yeah.
all the advocates. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, educating people is a passion of mine when it comes to these birds. It's what I do full time, pretty much. I love doing it. Educating adults, you know, like you said, they can be just as enthusiastic as kids can be. The real beauty of educating kids, though, is that if I can get them thinking about conservation and stewardship
Yeah.
of their environment when they're that age, I've made them that way for the rest of their lives.
It's so true.
They're always going to think that way.
Yeah, it's so
Um,
true.
yeah. So that's the goal for the work that we do with the education, is to make people more aware of what's out there and to take better care of what we have in our backyards.
Now, you mentioned that you guys are pretty busy. How far in advance would a couple need to book with you? Are you still booking for 2025 or you into 2026?
We're
closing out 25 for sure.
Yeah.
We're looking at 26 calendar.
Yeah, anything that's booking now is like October. Yeah, people that are still putting plans together and stuff. Anything in the early, like, you know, it's end of March right now. Anything that's going to be May, June, July sort of time is pretty much locked in.
Yeah, yeah.
That would make sense. Yeah, because it's
If-
kind of like one of the things you think of as like, wouldn't that be a great thing to add to the wedding? Yeah, it would. Yeah. So your time frame might be a little bit later than some
I
of
mean,
the
I'll say if somebody were to call me and say, "Hey, we're getting married next Wednesday, would you be able to do it?" Yeah, I probably. You know, my birds are ready. Like, it's just what our schedule is available. You know, our weekends are very, very booked up, both
I
with
bet.
our education programs and the weddings, and all the other things that we do.
That's cool.
So the weekdays, you know, I've got a little bit more flexibility, not much, but a little bit more. But weekends, yeah, like you said, we're looking into 2026 already.
That's
Yeah.
great. Oh, that's so great. I'm so glad to hear that. I was going to ask you something and now I can't remember what it was. Oh God. Do you travel every place? I know, Andrea, I worked with you. You were in Stockton.
Yeah.
I'm kind of more in North Jersey, and I'm doing a lot of work in nearby New York State. Do
Yeah,
you
how
have
far do you
geographical limitations with the birds?
No. I mean, in theory, if somebody really wanted me particularly, I could put the birds on a plane and fly to the other side of the country if they really wanted me. So no, that's not impossible. But we have weddings booked in northern New Hampshire,
Wow.
Massachusetts, Vermont. We're very close to the Catskills and the Poconos, so those are our two big hotspots. That book a majority of the weddings, but then, you know, New Jersey, we've got a few down there this year, but mostly in our Northeast area. There are other falconers across the country that do offer the services, so you don't have to just seek me out. You're better off finding somebody closer to you if you live in other parts of the country. But if you live in the Northeast, I'm probably your guy.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Oh, this has been so interesting. Wow.
It was one of the most memorable weddings that I had the honor to officiate. I want to tell our couples that we will be putting a link to the website, Falconry, I don't know why I can't say that name, excursions.com, as well as a link to their Instagram and Facebook pages so that couples or anyone interested in you know, checking them out. It's a beautiful website, beautiful pictures.
It really is.
Click on the link and go straight there, and then inquire about having a hawk or a falcon deliver your rings, or or incorporate them in your wedding or event in some other way. And Tom and Brittany, thank you so much for joining us today. I certainly hope to see you guys again.
We would love to work with you guys, with you again. We had a great time at that wedding, and thank you so much for having us. It was a pleasure.
It was really fun. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye.
This podcast is brought to you by New Jersey wedding officiant Andrea Pertel, owner of For This Joyous Occasion Officiating Services.
And Celia Milton, owner of NJ Vows Now. Also, New Jersey wedding officiating services. We're up in North Jersey, and Andrea is down in Central and South Jersey. So together we cover the whole state, don't we?
Yes, yes.